Right. Hello, everybody. Mrs. Meredith here. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. Let me catch up a little bit. There we go. So quick reminder, thank you for joining us for today's interview. Today we are joined by E.C. Timmer, who is a script writer. She's done a little bit of everything, right? Like
Directing, writing and directing. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we've got a huge list of questions that you guys sent in to ask her. So thank you for giving me those, and thank you, Emily, for joining us.
Absolutely. It's fun. I know
Yeah,
the journey's been long, so there's lots to talk about.
lots to talk about. Exactly. And yeah, there's a link to her. I think it's your Vimeo account, right? Is down below. So you can check out some of her projects and things that she's done before. And as always, if you would like to leave a question in the live chat.
I think when you're touching that, the mic goes off. FYI.
Oh, okay. Here.
Yeah.
There we
There
go.
you go.
There we
Little
go.
sound note.
There we go. All right. So let's see. So so if you have any questions, you can leave questions in the live chat there. Is it still doing it when I touch it?
No, you're good now.
There we go. Okay. All right. Oh, it's probably the paper. There we go. Okay. Yeah, but just make sure that no student names, right? So we're going to keep this private, but you are welcome to share this link after we're done with the interview with friends and family. So we're going to dive right into it because, like I showed you, tons of questions. So Emily, so just how did you start? I believe you went to film school, which we haven't talked to anybody who's been to film school yet. So
I started prior to film school. It was a very DIY. I was in my early 20s and just formed a documentary team with a couple close collaborators. I actually worked a bit with Shane in the early days.
Okay.
But we traveled all over the Middle East, Europe, Nepal, and we started making short docs just on our own. And so we were all hands on deck, shooting, editing, sound. I was doing the directing at the time, so I recall having to show up in Jordan on the border of Jordan and Syria in 2015, which was a wild time, and meeting people and immediately sort of having to orient and make sure they're comfortable and doing interviews. So that was my way in, was real DIY, as they call it, like guerrilla style filmmaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then after that, did you go to film school?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, well, there was another kind of round of things in there. I did a tour for another collaborator and made a documentary on historically Black colleges and universities. I moved to Hawaii, and then I was given this insane opportunity. It's quite a story, but they gave me a 3-year scholarship opportunity to get my full master's tuition paid for. So I moved to California being like, I can't miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I got my master's in directing at an amazing school called Chapman University in Southern California. And that was 2018 to 2021. It was 3 years.
Okay.
Intensive. I made 7 short films over that time. Some of them played in festivals. I was on a lot of sets, learned a ton, and then had graduated in 2021 with my master's.
Wow, that's in the midst of the pandemic and everything, too.
I know.
So,
I know. We made a film in the Arizona desert right in mid-pandemic, and it was wild.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, so then with that, like, how have you seen film change from before the pandemic to now?
That is a great question that everyone in the industry is trying to answer, because it's like in some ways feeling less and less recognizable, and there's just no predicting. If you look at the history of film, it's gone through these massive evolutions so many times before, and people have panicked. Even in 1950s, when the advent of television came around, they were like, movies are done. They're over.
Really?
Or prior to that, if anyone here or watching later has seen like Singin' in the Rain, there was a huge panic around silent to sound in films.
Yeah.
So this is our latest iteration of it, I would say, and it is the wild, wild west out there. Everything has changed in some ways since, I mean, everything, not everything, we're still watching movies, but streaming, the shift from theaters to streaming, and then this kind of explosion of content. Everyone's overspending to make stuff, and then they're just running on debt. So now it's shrunk and there's less being made. And then production. So the shooting has actually moved outside of LA. A lot of it is happening in other countries where the tax incentives are better. So a lot of change. There's new opportunities, but also just big studios are not making the money they made in 2019 with Marvel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Shane said he felt like there was a much bigger indie movement, like in like YouTube.
We want to believe that for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there always is, but it's an interesting duality there. There's a ton of people wanting to make indie films, and there's these pipelines you can use directly. I would encourage any student who's watching this later.
Mhm.
YouTube has more eyes and more viewers by a huge share than Netflix. They're there for different
Really?
purposes, but there's
Okay.
ways to engage with an audience on YouTube when you want to even create cinematic content that
Right.
is becoming available. But I would say in terms of the indie movement, there's more people who have access to making things. It's easier in some
Mhm.
senses. But
Mhm.
the traditional indie pipeline is really bloated, isn't working quite
Right.
so well. So studios aren't finding indie films. They're not being purchased as much the way they used to be at film
Right.
festivals. So you've got a rise of it in one sense, and then the industry itself is not engaging very
Okay.
much with it, which plays into the hands of people who are like, hey, I'll do it myself. I'll find
Right.
my own audience. I'll share it on a platform.
Right.
That can work too.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's something, you kind of need a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah,
Different audiences and different,
right.
yeah. Speaking of which, so have you done mostly, you said documentaries, and then you
hmm
made a few short films on your
I
own?
made, yeah, seven narrative short films,
Okay.
and each one kind of progressively, fortunately, more complicated. The last one was like a 10-day shoot in the Arizona desert, and now we're working on a feature film.
Okay.
Um, yeah, other than that, I've directed ads and commercials for like Uber, Amazon. Yeah, that kind of
Wow.
company commercial stuff. Sometimes you get to be creative with those,
Yeah.
sometimes not. Speaking to the like work question that I had seen in there though, like what
Yeah.
films are, um, I'd made the short films on my own. I've worked on those commercials
Okay.
and then worked on a number of different other streaming stuff, but no major movies directly that are like playing in theaters now. Although I do interface with some of those directors really directly. So through the Run Club in LA, one of my good friends is a director of if kids have seen the movie Get Out.
Okay.
Jordan Peele.
Okay.
Um, so there's ways that you interact with people, and part of this process of building a career is a lot of people call it networking, but it's just developing friendships over long periods of time. And it takes a while to get on your own set for a
Right.
feature film, which is a
Yeah.
2 hour movie. But if you're a director, it's hard to get on someone else's set because directors don't really share like that. So it's
Okay.
really interesting. You have to be on it in some other capacity, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
See,
really
so
interesting.
then how do you, it's one of those like catch 22s, right? How do you get the experience
Right.
if you can't go on other, yeah.
Well, fortunately, I mean, 7 short films was a lot for my
Okay.
own to direct. Thankfully, that grad school experience made that possible.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
really competitive program, partly because they pay you, they give you money to make the shorts.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're able to make them and have the
Mhm.
resources and have the library of their equipment, amazing cameras, sound stages at the grad school.
Okay.
So I was able to direct 7 of my own films, which is awesome. Every time I was learning so much more.
Right.
And then I directed a couple other documentaries in that time, and I would
Mhm.
just, and then the ads or the commercials.
Mhm.
So those were my stepping stones of directing experience, getting really comfortable over 4 years on like honing those skills. But yeah, if I wanted to observe another director, that's really hard to do.
Right.
That's tough. So there are ways I've worked out to do it, which is just taking any other role you can.
Okay.
There's a film set is like an ecosystem. There's all of these pieces that have to work in perfect concert for the
Yeah.
thing to get off the ground and work.
Right.
So there are times I've been what's called a first AD, which is
Okay.
the person right hand to the director who's
Mhm.
keeping on top of schedule, talking to all the different heads of department all day, kind of like the showrunner.
Okay.
Other times I've been a second AD just to observe other directors where I'm the one managing the actors, getting them to and from, makeup and hair and costume into set. So there's lots of different roles that you can kind of plug into and then observe how that director runs that set.
Okay. All right. So then, yeah, who's inspired you? Who's been your favorite director to kind of pick up from?
There's a number. I was just talking about this with someone. There's a documentary out right now about Martin Scorsese.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah. on Apple TV. I'm very excited to start watching that because
Yeah.
I respect him a lot. But there's a number of directors who have aspects of what I really respect.
Mm.
I think I'm always a fan of Greta Gerwig because I think as a woman, she's managed to keep a really strong female point of view and
Right.
make really popular films,
Right. And
regardless of
she did Little Women, right? And
she did
Barbie.
Lady Bird, Little Women, and she did Barbie.
Barbie. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
She's working on a Narnia adaptation that might be a little different than the source material.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I respect the way that she keeps that point of view because a lot of most directors are men,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
historically. And I really love how she's been able to work in this space and also not just have to sort of um, cede to that point of view, but have her own point of view.
Right.
And then I think Mike Mills, maybe a lesser known director to some, but he had some award-winning films recently. There was a film called Come On, Come On with Joaquin Phoenix in it.
Okay. Yeah.
That is a gorgeous film, and the way he works with a child actor in that film is unbelievable. It's one of the best performances I've seen. And then there's another actor, or sorry, director I would recommend to everyone. His name is Wim Wenders, Wenders. He's one of the famous art house directors. And
Okay.
I can give you these resources and recs after, but he's
Yeah.
he's made
Yeah.
some fantastic films that I
Okay.
also love. So there's a lot. I could go on and on about that.
Well, good. No, that's a great. Yeah, that'll get people started. We can start looking those up. Um, so I guess along with that, what movies have inspired you? What do you like
Yeah.
to watch? Yeah.
I could start earlier. Way back when I was like 5. I think I first saw what I mentioned earlier, Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
Um, Incredible because I was just so young and it was so like technicolor and there were these dreamlike ballet sequences and just hilarious physical comedy and then the music. It's one of the all-time great films on every list, but introduced to it at that age, I was just mesmerized at how light and beautiful and whimsical something could feel.
Right.
And I remember seeing The Matrix when I was really young
Okay.
and also feeling like I knew it. I knew that this isn't all real. Like my brain
Right.
was like, I knew it. I'm in
Yeah.
a simulation.
Yeah.
Um, and recently, I've been really inspired by a film by Wim Wenders called Perfect Days. Loved that movie. It's not for everybody. Films have different purposes, and I've realized I'm really drawn to films sometimes that are a little different than just classic entertainment escapism. I
Mm.
love a
Yeah.
film that feels sometimes a bit like poetry or a meditation
Yeah. Yeah.
when it's done really well. And that
Yeah.
film's done really well. So
Right.
it's kind of across the board, right? A musical, a sci-fi. Um, I really loved Peter Pan, the animated film when I was younger. I felt like
Yeah.
so like I was flying. And then, yeah, something like Perfect Days, more modern. I
Yeah.
did recently enjoy One Battle After Another, the brand new movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. So I will say that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
worth watching.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Okay. Well, and you said you were in the middle of the process of making a feature film. So could you kind
Mhm.
of walk us through what that process looks like?
Yeah, I started on the script, oh my gosh, 4.5 years ago now.
Okay. Yeah.
It is quite a process of dedication. I feel like I'm not crazy. I'm in good company when I hear other writer directors talk about working on something for instance, Get Out. Jordan Peele worked on it for 9 to 10 years before it got made.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So, sometimes you can write one and just make it right away, and those are great, but a lot of
Right.
them, it's like I joke about it needing like a gestation period, like when it's ready to give birth, it's ready.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I started writing it my last semester of graduate school.
Okay.
I was still in the process of making a couple other short films. And
Mhm.
then in the last 4 years, it has been this wild up and down of trying to make it, thinking I was really close to making it in 2022. I had done scouting trips up to Washington State where I'm going to shoot it. I
Yeah.
had connected with some potential locations. We were going to get locations for free.
Mhm.
We had a number of things aligning. And then everything just came to a standstill, essentially. There wasn't funding. And then what ensued the next couple of years, of course, was the strike,
Right.
and a number of other things that slowed things down. So I wrote another script in the meantime. I picked it up again, the script, a year ago,
Okay.
and had a little space and was ready to do a full rewrite. And I was
Right.
so grateful
Yeah.
that I had not made that movie as it was.
Right. Yeah.
I'd gone through various things as an artist, as a person. I'd like gone through some grief. There were just so many things that began to inform it. So now I'm in a ninth draft over four years of basically it's a 90 to 100 page screenplay.
Okay.
Usually it's about a minute a page for a screenplay. So it's
Okay.
about just under a 2 hour movie.
Okay.
And where we are right now is that we have our first two checks in. We've got $40,000 of seed money.
Okay.
We're looking at probably having about 75 to $100,000 in by the end of the year.
Okay.
Our total budget, and this is what's considered like a micro budget,
Yeah.
is 400,000.
Okay.
A very small budget.
That's
I
small.
could I could
Okay.
break
That's
down where some
small.
of that
Okay.
goes. They consider, I mean, Hollywood considers $2 million or less to be micro budget.
Wow.
Yeah, but you're thinking about shooting something for 21 to 30 days,
Okay.
paying a crew of 20 to 30 people a day rate, hiring trucks and equipment, renting equipment and food and locations. It really adds up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then editing and all of that. So you'd be surprised at how much how quickly a $2 million budget can go. But we're doing it for 400.
Okay.
So once we get kind of that 100,000 mark in, hopefully by the end of the year,
Mhm.
we get a casting director. And
Okay.
this is someone with connections. And it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. To get more money, you usually want some cast attached.
Okay. Yes.
But sometimes cast don't want to be attached till you get more money.
Right.
So so you just like work the relationships you have. I mean,
Yeah.
at this stage, since we're independent, we're not doing this through a studio, we're not
Mm.
doing a deal with any major company. My producer, who she has made 13 of these films
Okay.
independently, we're just going to different connections and people.
Mhm.
We're asking for checks in. We're getting people to say, hey, well, I'll give money if someone else gives money.
Mhm.
And then we're kind of DIYing it again.
Okay.
And the goal would be to shoot next August and September.
Okay. Wow. So
Yeah.
that's still a year out.
It's still a year. It's a little less than a year out, which feels
Yeah.
very soon when you're thinking about
Right.
all the pieces. Someone once said anyone making a film is a bit like trying to put the last 70 pieces of a jigsaw puzzle in at the same time.
Wow. Yes.
Like
Right.
in order to get the whole thing, like so many things have to line up perfectly. It's weirdly like, you know, the cliche, nobody's curing cancer by making a movie, but weirdly it's so hard to do.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to have a sort of like dogged determination
Yeah.
and just be like a little delusional, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. A dreamer.
Yeah.
You're a dreamer.
A dreamer.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So we've been they're making stop motion animated films in
Yeah, I
class.
love that.
And so we're at the storyboarding part of the process. Do you storyboard or do you just do the script?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
storyboard. We used something we called animatics, where some of our storyboarding was we'd go to the locations and take the compositional photos with
Oh,
stand-ins as we'd want to. So
yeah.
sometimes it's a lot of people, you know, will do that. Other people will use software that does it, and some people still hand draw. I would love
Okay.
to work with a hand drawn storyboard artist, though.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really incredibly useful.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because you can plan everything. We talked a little
Yeah,
bit about like camera shots too. So
yeah.
do you influence that? I guess as the director you would.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, so one of the things I love to do too is just like, if I love a movie, if I love a
Mhm.
scene, if I find it really emotionally compelling, I have a weekly group of filmmakers. We all meet and we talk about this stuff just
Okay.
to grow and get better. One of the things we
Yeah.
do is analyze our favorite scenes or films
Mm,
according to all these different elements that
right.
make it up, right? You've got a number of things. You've got your composition,
Okay.
which is, you know, close up, medium,
Okay.
wide, but you've also got camera angle.
Right.
So if the camera is positioned under the eye line of an actor, if I'm here, you know,
Right.
that communicates a different feeling. It usually makes the actor feel a little more heroic or strong. If the camera's
Okay.
above the actor's eye line, usually you get a sense that the person might be a little diminished or weaker. And then there's something called short sighting, where if you create this frame and I'm talking right to the edge of the frame,
Right.
also creates an emotional experience for a viewer versus me looking this way off into the open space of the future. Um, so all of those things, when you're working in narrative film, which is script writing and then realizing that script in a film,
Okay.
they're just such precise choices. And I learned this myself, but a director becomes great and has more mastery in direct relation to how many choices they make specifically
Okay.
according to story. So, composition, camera angle, editing, pacing, lighting,
Mm-hmm.
production design, performance. There's so many, sound,
Right.
score. Some of those you could just be like, okay, we'll just do whatever. I'm focused on the actors, but then the film doesn't kind of have that
Yeah.
incredible tonal quality where all those pieces are telling the same story.
Okay.
It's a long way of saying that composition is like so important. It's so
Right.
important based on the story and what the moment and the actors and the scene are asking for.
Okay. All right. And as the director, it is your job to bring all of that together.
Yeah, you're like the
Mm.
creative boss. And
Okay.
different films work different ways. So sometimes in big studio films, an executive producer is the one who buys the script or gets the script written and has this vision for it and then hires a director
Okay.
and they can fire the director.
Okay.
In this more like indie world where I'm the writer as well
Right.
and I'm kind of co-producing and directing, yeah, I'm more like, okay, wait, I'm in one sense that boss all the more so.
Right.
But traditionally, the director is honestly the visionary who oversees how all of those different aspects are coming together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of pieces, and you really have to trust your team and have a great team. You
Right.
don't want to just also just have your own ideas go, because the reason you have a cinematographer who is in charge of the entire camera team
Okay.
and a production designer who's in charge of set, props, set dressing, all of that is because they will add ideas. They will make it better than you could.
Okay.
So collaboration is really important.
But you have to trust that they're on the same. So do you give them a
Uh,
vision to start and
yeah,
then here? Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So generally, like for instance, with this film, not everyone does this, but I like to, because I know my collaborators pretty well,
Okay.
I like to include them earlier in the process. Like often a script might be written and the director will bring that completed script as a blueprint to the team and talk about all kinds of things, what the tone of it will be, maybe what color palette they want, maybe the style of performance, and then how that will fit in visually. But what
Mm-hmm.
I like to do is incorporate them as I'm writing it,
Okay.
because my sound designer or my production designer or my cinematographer, I trust them a lot and they have really great ideas as they're watching the story form according to their expertise.
Okay.
So my production designer was reading a scene and was saying, it'd be really interesting if this character carried this specific object around. Like that's not something I would have thought to write in,
Mm-hmm.
but once I'm seeing it visually, I'm like, oh, that object is really interesting. Would say something about him that the dialogue doesn't, right?
Right. Yeah.
So as you go along and we complete this, we'll get into the phase of pre-production, which is basically all of those meetings where
Okay.
I'm really needing to be really clear across all those departments what our vision is, what
Mm-hmm.
the feeling. I'll give tonal comparisons. So I'll create a whole deck, and I've already done this, of different kinds of film clips or visuals or music or art that feels like how I want the film to look and feel.
Okay.
And that helps everyone get on the same page. So we know what kind of movie we're making. And then
Right.
we talk about ideas and we build a shot list. The cinematographer and I will build a shot list, which means you break your script down and you design each shot as you're going to shoot it. Okay, so we start on page one. We're going to open with a wide shot. We want it to also include a close up and so that we have our coverage. You go through the entire script that way.
Right. Okay. Which is kind of like storyboarding, just without the
It is.
sketching.
It's
Okay.
storyboarding. It's the planning of it.
Right.
And then once you have your shot list, you can create storyboards.
Right. Okay. Okay. And you mentioned like music in there too. So it's a mood board.
Yeah, it's a
It's
mood board. It's
with
entirely, and you have to,
yes.
I mean, Quentin Tarantino said this and it's super useful. We have this myth that directors are the geniuses and everyone else is just their minions. But honestly, it doesn't work that way. He said it and he's
Yeah.
like, you don't have to execute the vision as a director. It's way too much for you. You just have to have one.
Hmm.
And then you have to be really good at gathering people.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, if you look up directing advice from the greatest directors, what they'll
Mhm.
say is this got so much better when I brought my collaborators on. I just had the
Mhm.
seed, but it takes the entire village to make it the tree. And it's really crazy how that happens. Something that starts as your idea in your room, when you bring a team in, becomes something beyond what you could have expected. You just have to
Right.
give some of that ownership away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
I find, yeah. That's why
You
I
know
like
what?
buying books is
It's
it's
funny.
online.
I think it makes sense if you're in the world of like novels for that to be really hard, right? Because
Right.
it is the world within your head. And
Yeah.
but I think it's sort of this delineation between people who naturally just crave being in film, because I tried to be a novelist and I have so much respect for you. I have just deep respect. But what I realized is I'm always just wanting to be with people. So
Mm,
once it came down to it and I'd written a script and I was like, dang, I don't know, like this is years ago. I was like, I don't know how to, like, what do I do? I have no
right.
idea. You realize out of necessity, I'm like, oh, there's someone who knows how to talk to me about sound. There's
Right.
someone who knows how to. So out of desperation, I was like, wait, I do need everyone.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
this to be better than I can make it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm loving hearing all of this because I think one of the things that has definitely come up in conversation with the students is a focus on acting, right?
Yeah.
That's what they think of when they think of film, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so there's so much more that goes into.
No, 100%. And I would challenge your students, and maybe if one student here takes this advice, there's a couple scenes I could suggest to watch where you think you're just tuning into the performance
Hmm.
and that's what's moving you. And a lot of us are just very focused on the performance, but we don't realize in a great film that 16 or 17 things are happening to create a mood and an emotional tone and an experience for that performance.
Hmm.
We do most notice human beings because as our eyes are drawn to the face of another human being more than almost anything. And it's amazing how many continuity errors movies can get away with because of that,
Yeah, yeah,
where people just don't notice because they're looking at the person.
right.
But Martin Scorsese is infamous for that. If you look at
Yeah,
that, there's YouTube videos on his continuity errors.
yeah.
But yeah, I would say I would challenge them to watch a great scene. Again, for instance, there's this scene, I'll call it the teacup scene in the movie Get Out.
Okay.
It's an iconic scene.
Hmm.
And when you really break it down, it's unbelievable what Jordan Peele is doing in that scene with
Yeah.
sound, with color, with composition, with lighting,
Hmm.
with camera angle,
Hmm.
camera movement. All of these things are surrounding two great performances, but they're creating, and then with visual effects and this imagery he creates. So, yeah, there's so much directing, really, when you come down to it, so vital to work with actors. But you have to step into learning to master these other areas and
Right.
collaborating in them because that's what a film is. Otherwise, we might just have, a solo stage performance, but a film is this entire visual auditory experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So with that, I know I think it was later in my list of questions, but that this does go into it. Something about casting, right? That you have
Mhm.
you cast
Yes.
you cast your own movies?
Yes, I
Okay.
have set
Yeah.
7 different times and it is a blast. I love
Yeah.
it. I think the way it'll work for the future is that we'll have a casting director who will bring me specific options instead of just a vast sea. And then I'll select from those options. In the past, I've sat in casting offices up in LA and seen 50 people at a time in a day.
Wow.
um, I've done some Zoom casting, and then other times I've had specific people in mind.
Okay.
This is a fun note, but I it was my, I think, fourth film in graduate school. It's on my Vimeo link and people
Okay.
can see it. It's called Latchkeys.
Oh, I watched that one. Yep.
Yeah, and
No.
I was looking to cast someone who was like a maybe 30-year-old woman,
Mm-hmm.
but Jiyoung walked in and she was just fantastic. She's her professional name is Jiyoung. At the time, she was calling herself Sunhee, so that's in the credits on the film. But she was like 21, and I was like, "Dang, you're too young, but you're amazing. You're so
Yeah.
good." And then I thought, I'm just gonna change the script for you.
Yeah.
So I did, and it was fantastic. We won a couple awards for that film.
Yeah.
We became really good friends, and we've been friends for the 6 years since. And then earlier this year, she was like, we were just catching up at a coffee shop here in
Mhm.
LA. And I was like, what have you been working on? She was on a major Amazon show with Nicole Kidman before. Like her career blew up in the last 3 years. But
Wow.
this one's fun because she was like, oh, I'm part of this. I'm one of the lead voices in this little animated film that I hope people will watch. I don't know if they will. I don't know where it's like, it's not coming out in theaters, but I really think it's good. And I was like, I'll watch it. And it was K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh
And
my gosh, yes.
we had no idea. I remember talking to her about it it was like in late May or June or something. And I was just like, that sounds like a hilarious title. I'll watch it though. And
Right.
we've been blown away because now she's getting recognized for that role. So it's really
Oh,
funny.
absolutely. That is one of the like the music is everywhere, all over
I
school.
know, I know.
Talk about it all the time.
And
Yeah.
it truly is one of those where like knowing her so well and knowing her talent level, I knew she's so talented, but you
Yeah.
just don't know what certain things are gonna explode and pop
Right.
off. That's
Yeah.
really fun. One thing about Hollywood, they're really bad at predicting.
Yeah.
They do create IP and then try to milk it forever.
For yeah, too long.
Um,
Yeah.
but then all these surprising things, like this year, one of the most surprising massive hits was this movie Sinners, which is an original film about it's the same director, Ryan Coogler, who directed Creed and Black Panther.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
famous director, but he
Yeah.
made this vampire film set in the deep South in like 1930 or
Oh
something.
my goodness.
Yeah, and it was a massive hit. So that K-pop Demon Hunters, you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, back to casting. She was one example.
Yeah.
I've cast all the films. It's really interesting. I think one of my favorite parts of directing is finding and working with actors. I've acted myself, so I'm really keyed in on that. And
Mhm.
it's partly just informative to see how 30 different people read the lines you've written and what it tells you about your own script and maybe what you need to change.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true. I hadn't thought about that as a kind of a beta read. As a
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
And it's amazing too. What I will say is human beings were amazing. Like we are diverse, but at times I'm like, we're all making the same choices because 15 people in a row can walk in with these same lines
Right.
and read them the same way. Not only that, but have the same mannerism that their brain somehow picks up on, I want to do this. And then one person walks in and does it completely differently. And you're like, well, who are you? And why are you thinking
Right.
that way? It's great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So neat. So okay, so yeah, what advice would you have? Because I also teach a theater class. What advice would you have for people who are looking to become actors? Like
Hmm.
we've watched several different things about auditioning and like and we've heard everything from just be yourself because if it's right, it's right, and others are like no, you want to capture a very specific and unique persona. So like reading it,
Yeah.
look at the line and think, I'm going to read this completely differently from everybody else. Do you always
Right.
want to do that? Like,
Yeah. So much of this, I wish there was simpler steps, but the one thing I've noted about creativity, and I would give this to any actor, is prepare yourself for a journey.
mm,
There isn't really a hack to acting early on. And I think the greatest living actors would tell you that. There's a video I watched recently, incredible essay on creativity, that for instance, Thomas Edison and the light bulb. We think he's a genius and had this brilliant, but that was one of like however many thousands of patents.
right. Yeah.
And it's very true also of acting.
Mm,
Is I think even in directing or acting, there's this mythos around like getting discovered and somebody will like, I'll just like go and then it'll just happen. And
right.
what I think we have to do that's the safest, most rewarding road is to fall in love with the craft itself
Mm,
and the process.
yeah.
So if you're interested in being an actor, I would ask myself like why? Because if you want to get famous and you want to get discovered, it's really hard to do
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have no guarantee of that. But if you're really interested in exploring other experiences,
Mm,
in learning and engaging in being present with people, I would say acting is
mm,
less pretending and more about presence.
yeah.
And that is one of my biggest notes. There's this anecdote that babies and dogs are the best actors because they're entirely present.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could tell, like, let's say 30 people would walk into a room. This happened when I was casting the child lead for
Mm,
Latchkeys.
yeah.
I had all these kids come in and they had their Disney star kid personas, just like
Okay.
so performative, ready to like,
Right.
and then, and this is not everyone's taste, right? But this young girl, Meilani, walked in and she was so there with me. She made real eye contact. She was so like
Mm,
all her presence was with me.
yeah.
That feels like an intangible thing to say, but the reason I say that is because acting is a process of becoming a better listener and present person as a human being. It's
Mm.
about growing, being curious about other life stories, engaging your whole self. And if you're committed to that process, I think you have a better shot at showing up to an audition and feeling really real. It's like, what are you orienting yourself towards? So fall in love with that process. Would highly recommend. It's for directors. I would recommend it to actors, but reading the book Directing Actors.
Okay.
Also, there's a number of wonderful. The Intent to Live by Larry Moss is a great book, but
Mm.
yeah, I would recommend approaching it that way.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think repetition is so important. It
Mm.
reminds me of that Edison thing, right? Like, had he just given something 5 tries, we probably wouldn't have the light bulb. But he
Right.
gave it 1,000, and somewhere in there, because repetition and growth and practice yields something, you
Mm.
end up growing towards that aha moment.
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
you're falling in love with the process, you want to learn to be just a more dynamic, engaged, present human being through acting, and you're giving
Mhm.
it lots of repetition and kind of looking for those new angles and experiences to like round out your humanity, I think you might stumble onto something. It's almost like the means and the end get switched. The end isn't get famous, so how do I act? It's let me act really well, and somewhere along the way, I might snag a really amazing job,
Right.
if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great advice. Yeah. So what are you looking for when you're casting? Is there do you have a specific person in mind and you're just waiting for that person to walk through the door or like you said, sometimes it changes when you meet the people.
Yeah. There's all kinds of directors, and some people do write parts for certain actors, and
Mhm.
then they have their team go to that actor and say, "Hey, we wrote this for you. It's wonderful." And
Mhm.
sometimes they get those people. It's great.
Mhm.
Um, I am what they like, maybe an intuitive filmmaker. So I know my characters' emotional lives so deeply, but I
Mhm.
am just waiting for someone to surprise me who maybe looks different. I
Mhm.
have I like really let go of some of the externals.
Right. Yeah.
And I am looking, the reason I emphasize presence, and it's very intangible, but is someone who feels so there. I'm a
Mm.
big fan of incredibly grounded, just like present performances. There's a lot of examples of this versus like kind of more like TV show, haha, like we're doing all the things. I'm a little bit different in my tastes, but I would say I'm not usually looking for a specific type or look. I'm looking for a kind of presence. And that does feel really intangible. That's why it is really important to me to be involved in the process. Because for me, I think all those years, I traveled for 7 years and had to meet and interview people and like one thing in my life, it's been incredibly unstable, but I've been able to meet loads of people.
Yeah.
And over that, maybe my 10,000 hours of practice is in discerning people
Mm.
and understanding them. I think if you want to be a director, you have to meet people. You have to come to understand
Yeah.
people. And so over all that time, I realized what I'm looking for when I cast is someone whose presence, whose maybe emotional expression, whose way of being and moving feels like it matches the kind of story I'm telling.
Okay.
And that's an inner thing.
Right.
So I'm less, I need you to look this way. I need you to have this.
Right.
I'm more like, you can
Yeah.
surprise me, but if you have that inner thing and you
Mhm.
have ideas, and I think the
Mhm.
second piece I would say is someone who adds to the character
Mm.
and who makes it their own in a way that makes it better and more lifelike. That's so important to me. So those choices where they add really wonderful choices, those don't have to be choices that are just like you said, different for the sake of different. But if it's different because you feel like, oh, I get this character
Right.
and I want to try this thing, I love that.
Yeah. Do you get to talk to them in auditions? Like, do you
Yeah.
get to ask them why they made choices and things like that?
Yeah, we will. I mean, when I was doing that there were a couple like marathon rounds of it. Some people, I mean, this is what I would say. If you get a rejection as an actor, don't be discouraged. It's not personal. Like truly it is just sometimes there's very specific roles and you might be wonderful for 10 other things and not for this. But
Right.
some people would come in and I'd be like, okay, I know this is a no within the first 10 seconds.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if I liked someone, we would stay longer and we
Okay.
might chat and I might say, well, can you try? I often like to improv. So if I
Okay.
really enjoyed someone, we would move into improv because that tells me what kind of ideas or imagination they have.
Right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's wonderful.
I love it. So
Wow.
the students are interested in acting, huh?
So yes, yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
so I teach STEAM, so that's third through 12th grade, and then I've got a
Yeah.
high school group that's just
Yeah.
here, and then we do a spring play every spring, and then I teach choreography on Mondays, and so we're
I
doing a
love
show.
it. And you know what?
So
Stage acting and film acting
yeah,
are different.
they're very different. Yes,
They're really different. And I
yeah,
respect stage acting so much.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. But we've been talking a lot about that believability and authenticity.
Hmm.
How do you bring that? Because I think that's the most important aspect
Yeah.
of acting in either way. So
Well, if you don't mind me getting a little nerdy, there's a couple quick tools I use when I'm directing
yeah,
that help with that.
okay.
Because if you focus an actor on an emotion to play, it
Mm,
always comes off a bit, unless they're just an incredible actor and they kind of do it in their own way, it
right,
comes off performed, or what we call
right,
indicating. Indicating means like,
okay,
I don't know if you're really, it doesn't feel like you're really experiencing this. It feels like you're in your head, like, okay, be angry, or,
right.
or like
Forced. Yeah.
very acty.
Yes. Yes.
But the tools are to get people away from thinking about an emotion to play
Okay.
and get them into listening to and responding to their scene partner
Mhm.
and trying to act upon them, some objective.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's a technique called the Meisner technique that's all about just listening and responding to the person, right? Because sometimes when two people are totally capital A acting, they're just
Mhm.
lobbing lines back and forth and you don't feel the connection.
Right. Yeah.
So, one of the things you can use is verbs. Super simple.
Okay.
But if you think about someone and you pull them aside before the scene, you're like, oh, I need you to be angry at her. Then that'll read on screen like someone trying to be angry.
Mm.
But in life, we don't go around thinking, I'm going to be angry. No, anger happens naturally because someone did something or we want to get something from them.
Right.
So, the same way in film, I'm thinking, where can I get you to put your focus so that anger just becomes a byproduct and it feels really natural?
Mhm.
So verbs are a really quick tool to do that if you
Mhm.
need to do it efficiently. Let's say you're in a scene where you're confronting someone and you just use really vivid words. You say, okay, I need you to ridicule her. I need, like, the tone of the scene is you're going to ridicule or you're going to mock. There's all these different tonal shifts of how you
Mhm.
could do it. Or I need you to seduce her. I need you to pummel her. Like those
Mhm.
kinds of things that are like, that's
Okay.
anger. But let's say there's something else. I need you to beguile her. I need you to bewitch her. When
Mhm.
someone's thinking about bewitching someone, there's all these emotions that emerge, but very naturally, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's one of the tools. Another one is called as ifs. So
Okay.
you can give an actor an as if prior to a scene, like play this scene as if you just realized you're in love. And
Right.
that gives them something to think about other than like play and emotion.
Right.
It's like this inner life. Does that make sense? There's different
Absolutely.
quick tools like that for screen that work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. How do you find, because film is usually out of order, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I prefer the stage, is because you get to build the character towards
Yeah.
that emotion naturally,
Yeah.
and it's so much harder when it's like, okay, nope, now we're in this scene and now you're beguiling, but then in the next scene you have to be something completely different.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
I mean, it's so different for every
Yeah.
project, right? Like it would be so wonderful to shoot chronologically.
Right.
But that's the thing is like working professional actors know that. They know that part of the difficulty of their job on a set and part of the wonderful challenge is orienting yourself towards that scene and that emotional moment,
Hmm.
which is where the work of a director is so pivotal.
Okay.
You have to know your script inside and out,
Right.
and you have to know your emotional beats so that
Mhm.
at any point it is your job, I believe, as a director, to know the exact emotional orientation. Where are we? And at the drop of a hat, right? Jumping to scene 67 and back to 2 and down to 4 in a day, you have to
Right.
be able to efficiently and clearly, I mean, you don't want to be too wordy. That's the thing. Communicate to your actors, this is where we are. And that's why some of those shorthand tools are really helpful. One
Hmm.
of the things I've realized though is it can actually be too much to always be thinking about all your backstory for a
Hmm.
scene And some actors like to do that, right? But, or
Mhm.
like, okay, then this happened, and this happened. Instead, if you know exactly what the emotions and the tone and the interaction and the objective of that scene is, you
Mhm.
can play a verb or play an objective and the proper emotion will happen. You don't have to kind of think about all the other stuff. You can be present to that
Right.
as long as you are given a clear direction on what your objective is and maybe the verb you're playing or the scenario that's an as if, that
Right.
makes sense. Another really useful tool, um, one of the worst things a director can do is give what's called a line reading. I believe it's one of the worst things
Mm.
where it's like, oh, no, I don't like how you said it. Read it like this. And then you're basically
Mm.
making an actor just mimic you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Instead of that, you can use subtext.
Okay.
So you could tell them great films, great stage plays have subtext. Every line means a little something different. We never say exactly what we mean. So
Right.
the I love you could say, depending on what that I love you is supposed to be, the subtext, say I love you with the subtext being I'm about to break up with you.
Mm. Yeah.
How does that change it?
Right.
Right? So when you're in a pinch and you're moving faster on the script, some of these tools help quickly orient you to what's happening in that scene,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And that's part of the job of the actor to be prepared for that, and the job of the director to know exactly where you are in your emotional beats to communicate that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you filming like multiple shots of each part and then
Yeah.
picking
So
your favorite?
and what?
Picking your favorite, like in editing?
So
Yeah.
that's part of what that shot listing process
Right.
is you will break, for instance, you have a scene.
Mhm.
You're going to want to shoot what's called coverage of that scene, meaning you've got to edit between shots. So let's say for a scene of dialogue in the kitchen,
Mhm.
you might want a master shot that runs from start to finish through the entire scene in a wide.
Mm.
Two characters in the frame. You're going to do that first. This is very, very classic, almost cliche structure, but it's an illustration basically.
Mhm.
So shoot your master. The
Mhm.
actors get to warm up, they get to do the scene all the way through. So your first shot, maybe for scene 25, is a master.
Okay.
You might do 3 to 4 takes of that.
Yeah.
After that, you have your coverage. So we've got the master. Now we want a medium shot over the shoulder of this person.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
we shoot all that coverage of the other actor.
Mhm.
What's crazy is then you got to switch your lighting setup all the way around to turn it around and shoot the other actor's coverage.
Right.
And then you might want a close up. So
Mhm.
you're breaking your scene down depending on what you need. And if people know of the Coen brothers, they're famous for shooting hardly any coverage and kind of editing in their head. So they
Oh,
might do one master and then one close up and they're like, "We know that's all we need." And you're like, "Don't you want options?" But they kind of just know.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
risky. It's
Yeah.
risky. But yeah, so each scene requires something different. There have been
Mm.
scenes where I'm like, nope, it's one shot and I know exactly what I'm going to do and it's going to stay in the wide. We
Right.
don't want to close up, so you shoot that.
Right.
But some scenes are very complicated because you need a master of 2, 3, 4 actors. You need two medium shots. You need what's called over the shoulder shots. And then
Mhm.
you might need what's called an insert, which is close ups on objects, right? If someone's writing a letter, you've got their face and then you've got the shot of the letter.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Do you have an example of a script?
I do. I'm working on it right now. I don't know if I should if I can share the screen or if I should just send it to you in a file to show your students.
That's true. I could do that too. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we can do that after.
Just so they can
I
see.
could find an appropriate one.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Yes, it does have to be school appropriate.
No, I mean like appropriate, like I can't share someone's feature
No.
necessarily while it's
Yes.
a work in
It can
progress.
just
That
be
was
like
more,
one page, just so they can
yeah.
see like the
Oh
the
yeah.
interior
Um,
shot, that kind of stuff.
you know what? I'll send the first page or two or a page or two in the current feature I'm working on.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Excellent.
really a screenplay is a blueprint. It is beautiful if it reads well, but every different department is using it to identify what they need to do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that there's a format. You all caps, props and characters and
Okay.
outfit, things like that are all, there's a format to it.
Right. Okay. All right. And you can just look that up, right? For like example.
The proper format?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, YouTube and To be honest, even ChatGPT, double check it, but so much of it is helpful in terms of film stuff. If you have
Yeah.
specific questions, highly recommend just search it. There's
Yeah.
so many good resources. There's something called Studio Binder that
Okay.
has loads of great advice on formatting, or if you're curious how the slate works and how you slate different scenes,
Right.
all that kind of stuff you can find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so lighting and sound. We kind of touched on those very briefly.
Yeah.
Like, what for you?
Yeah.
How do you look at that?
Yeah. So the lighting department is its own entire department that is
Right.
run by the gaffer,
Yeah.
and he reports to the cinematographer. Sometimes cinematographers are just standing there looking at the monitor too, and they have a camera operator and a gaffer, and they're hardly doing anything. They're just overseeing and talking to the director.
Okay. Okay.
Um, that's bigger projects, but the lighting side, um, light is so important in how we perceive a film. So
Mm.
if you think of watching a sitcom like
Hmm.
Friends, a
Yeah.
classic sitcom,
Right.
it's lit a very specific way. Everything is fully lit on the entire set,
Right.
right? And
Right.
all the even lighting on the faces.
Yeah.
Everybody could walk around and be lit at any point.
Right.
If you watch a comedy, it's similar lighting. Comedies are lit, everything's lit bright. You rarely get a moody cinematic comedy. You've got kind of this full both sides of the face being lit.
Okay.
But then let's say you watch the new Zack Snyder Batman
Okay.
and you think about lighting, right? How is that
Right.
different than the comedy lighting? So, lighting to me pretty quickly and subconsciously tells people what kind of film we're in.
Mm. Okay.
If you're in that bright, well lit, you might be like, oh, comedy, or like more of like a Hallmark romance or a rom-com or a
Right.
TV show.
Yeah.
It's also a commercial look, like classic commercials, like whatever Flo from whatever her name is,
Yeah.
the brand.
Yeah.
But like, you know, a Christopher Nolan film
Right.
or a Martin Scorsese film, you might get some of the more dramatic
Yeah.
lighting that
Yeah.
feels more emotionally evocative, that has kind of like, you know, light hitting this side of the face, and then this is a
Mhm.
bit darker. There's a whole range of terms and things for that. I'm keeping it real simple just to illustrate like that it's
Mhm.
so important because it helps identify the emotional tone, the kind of story we might be in. You can use it to sort of bait and switch people, but you don't want to just do that. You want to help the
Right.
audience understand what kind of movie we're in, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm.
And then sound, we studied this in grad school, but it's really fascinating that sound, you wouldn't think this because you think the things visually happening on a screen are most important, but sound and the way our brain processes it kind of through a subconscious back door is more important to us in determining the quality and the high quality feel of something that's made versus than the visuals.
Okay.
For instance, you could have some really stunning visuals, but if the sound is popping and really poor quality, we perceive that as badly made.
Right. Okay.
Well, let's say we've got shaky cam, grainy footage with unbelievably clear, well-designed sound. It suddenly feels like an aesthetic choice.
Okay. Okay.
Because sound really communicates to us, yeah, it just enters in a way that is highly important for the human mind. So I've
Hmm.
always felt that you have the visuals, but the complement of sound, it shouldn't be something that's just added on or cleaned up later.
Mhm.
It should be something that is, there's a reason they're called sound designers, but designed all
Mm.
along the way.
Okay.
It's not just there to make sure the dialogue's clean and then the car has the sound effects and then there's music. It's like it can tell a story. And if you pay attention to great films, it's doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those
Yeah.
moments of silence too.
Silence.
Yeah.
Film is really musical. Like when you're editing, you start to realize there's a rhythm to it.
Mm.
And the more you edit, the more you'll work that muscle of knowing the rhythm of like, okay, we've had this pace, now we need this, now we need this, the same way that a song is.
Right.
And sound works that way as well. It builds into that rhythm of editing, of frequency of shots, and when do we stretch it out, and when do we have silence. It's a
Mhm.
lot like making music, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That I feel like that's going to be the most challenging part for a lot of people.
It is hard.
Yeah, it's a
And it's
lot.
wild what they do. I mean, we were on a Foley stage. I don't know if your students will be familiar, but I would highly recommend looking up some classic behind the scenes of Foley stages. Like there, this is where sound designers create sounds. So for
Mhm.
instance, a recent example is Dune. Denis
Mhm.
Villeneuve, the director of Dune, famously only used dialogue from production. From the actual filming, the only sounds he used
Oh,
from production are the dialogue.
huh.
Otherwise, everything you hear is designed later
Oh,
in a
wow.
studio and with equipment and with the sound designers. And
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like for those flying chopper things, he combined butterfly wings flapping and bees and all these sounds. And so you literally have sound designers crafting sounds after the fact as they're looking at the images, and it's amazing.
yeah.
But so Foley stages are another example of this. You can look up footage of
Hmm.
Jurassic Park. They when the when the dinosaur is stomping, they were like crashing like celery
Oh,
in
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
celery and like different things like that, or like breaking small twigs. It's just really interesting to
Right.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We've watched a few little things, just because that'll be in a later part in the process. But yeah, I was trying to point out to them like how it's often something that you're hearing something that you think is this thing, but it's actually being made by
Which
celery.
is funny because
Yeah.
sometimes the sound itself doesn't sound like what it should sound like. So you have to do some other thing that's not that,
Right.
that
Yeah.
sounds more like a tree cracking or falling, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is.
I'm looking forward to that part because I want to see how creative they can be with how they make their sounds. So,
Yeah, that'll be fun.
um, yeah. Let's see. We basically touched on everything.
Wow, our timing is impeccable.
I know. Yeah, it worked out really well.
This is beautiful.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, lighting's at, yep. Um, yeah.
Any last
Any,
summation
yeah,
question?
yeah. So just like, what's your favorite part of working on movies?
Gosh, everything. No, I was just telling someone this. It's like there, if you know you love it, you really know because it's weird. You're working a 12-hour day, it's controlled chaos. It's like so
Yeah.
many. But I highly encourage your students to be proactive, to figure out, to get in that environment. And if they don't like one experience, try another and another
Right.
because for me, I really mean it. I love everything. It's hard. It's overwhelming. I've made short films where I've just sobbed at the end of the day because so many things go wrong and
Yeah.
actors drop out and you're shutting down a road to shoot a car on a trailer and the police have to, it's crazy.
Oh,
But at the end of the day, it's just incredibly rewarding and special to use as many of your creative faculties as possible together with people
mm,
achieving this thing. And it's just so special. So I would highly recommend that they just dive in and find ways to make stuff together,
yeah.
um, plug into like a local film community or make one yourself.
Hmm.
It just is so rewarding. I think what we really need is to collaborate with each other and create together. It's really special to do so. So I really love collaborating with people most, I would say, and I would encourage them to do the same.
Absolutely. So how about for the high schoolers? What should they be looking at if they want to get into film? Like, do they need
Yeah.
to be in film school? Is it more about getting experiences? What should they be?
Right, that's so highly specific. In my
Right. Yeah.
case, my big hesitation was debt, and I didn't have to have any because they paid for it. So totally
Right.
worth it.
Yeah.
In Shane's case, self-taught. But for
Yeah.
both of us, we formed a team and started making stuff even before I went to film school.
Hmm.
So we were already doing that.
Yeah.
So it really, to me, comes down to finding a healthy, avid community to plug yourself into. And I would say that to them first before you figure out, I mean, while you're still in high school, before you figure out, the exact route later, the first and most important thing that you will want to use later anyway is the ability to find a community of creatives or film lovers and start making things with them. That's the advice across the board that I've heard even from famous directors and all is like start doing it now and start doing it with people you would like to create with.
Yeah.
And as you do that, one step unfolds the next. I do think there are some advantages of film school, but be wise about going into insane debt for it because you can learn a lot just making stuff with your friends.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my advice.
Excellent. Yeah. well, this is all homeschool students, so they're all
Yeah.
about the independent, learning and
Yeah.
going out there and
Taking initiative.
yeah,
That's what it takes.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Emily. That was
Absolutely.
wonderful. Yeah, we got through all sorts of
We
stuff.
did. And I talked so much.
That was wonderful. I'm already like, okay, I'm taking that and I'm going to put that on this day.
Okay, good.
That's perfect. So yeah.
Yeah, if you need any other resources, let me know. But this was such a pleasure. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you send me that script, then I'll get that out to people. And
I will. I'll do so.
yeah.
Feel free if anyone has burning questions
Yeah.
ongoing. You can pass my email on too. I'm happy to answer some
Oh,
questions.
okay. Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you all later this week. All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.